So today we are going to be painting. So you'll need a water cup and a palette, a plate for blending, a paintbrush and a pencil, and some paper towels. So of course we're going to start with sketching on our white piece of paper. So you just start sketching what you think you want your video game to look like. So I start with some platforms. We'll skip ahead. You always want to start with the background, so you can see I kind of started with the sky. You can blend in. The good thing about starting with the background is you can kind of not worry so much about the foreground or the things above it and just paint right over it. As you see, my lines aren't super clean, but once you start painting on top of things, that's when you can make things really clean and crisp. So we're starting with the platforms. You'll see I'm just putting down the base color of brown. I'm going to do that on all of the platforms. You just want to start with your base color, the very first color, no tints and shades to start, just the first color. So this is just the regular brown from the palette, nothing mixed into it. You can see I'm just putting that all over the platforms, and I'll do that on all of the platforms. As you see here, I've done that. And so now I'm going to go in with that shade of brown. So that's just the brown with a little black mixed in to get that shade. And I'm putting that right under where I'm going to have the grass to emphasize that there would be a shadow there. So you can see I'm just adding that under all of my platforms where the grass would be. And you can see I'm kind of adding a little bit of a bubbly texture. You see I made a little bit of a mistake. A way that you can kind of get rid of that is put a little bit of water on your finger, wipe away at it, and then gently dab at it with your paper towel, and it kind of went away. That's the nice thing about acrylic paint, is you can really clean up mistakes if you work fast. But you can see that I am working and I'm making these little bubbles to show that there might be grass growing on top of the platforms. And I'm just adding that shade right under there to emphasize where a shadow would be. And you can see I did that in the background too with the mountains, how there's a little bit of darker green on the bottom and then a little lighter green at top. And you want to make sure that you are rinsing your brush and drying it between switching colors so you don't get any dark colors in your light colors. And I'm going in with that lighter brown, that's brown with white mixed in, and I'm putting that on the bottom, and I'm doing that on all of my bricks. But now you can kind of see that it's a little bit too stagnant, it's too not blended enough. So I'm going back in with the basic brown and I'm blending. You might need to go do this a couple of times to get that perfect blend that you want, going in with the regular brown, then the shade, then the tint, and then the regular brown again. Sometimes it takes a few layers, sometimes you can get it on the first try. So it's important that we work fast, because this is a timely process. We want to stay focused so that we can get this all done. But you can see I am just blending it, and just the strokes that you want to do are longer strokes, kind of back and forth. As you can see, I'm really longly going back and forth to blend, and that way you can get those really nice clean lines of blended colors. One way to get really crisp lines when we have these platforms is to make sure that you can angle your brush on the tip, and that gives you a straight line. As you can see what I'm doing here with the green for the grass, you use the side of it and you get a thinner line, and you use the flat of it and you get a bigger line to cover areas. And you can see I'm going in with the base green just to make the lines and the curves, and add the green to add the grass. And you can see I'm going over the line of where I had it originally, and that's okay. This is a good thing about paint, is that if you make a mistake and you want to go over something, it's very easy to do that. If you just do a couple of layers, pretty much any color can be hidden away. As long as you add enough layers, then it'll be dark enough and you can cover anything that's behind it. So that's a really nice feature about this kind of paint. And you can see I'm just making those crisp lines with the regular green to start, to add that grass on top. So in order to do this and not make it blend so much in with the background, what I'm going to be doing is making it a little bit of a different green. So you can see I'm doing my second layer, as I said before, to make it very opaque so that you can't see anything behind it. You can see that the first layer, you could kind of see what was going on behind it, but now that I'm adding that second layer, it's much darker and you can't really see behind it as well. It's not as transparent. So you can see that I'm doing that on all of the bricks, and this is just a good thing. You might want to do 2 layers for most things, most of the base colors to start, just so you have a good starting point. And it's good to just cover your page in the base colors to start, because this way we can make sure that our whole painting is painted full before we move on. So you can see I'm using that tealish color now, and I'm going right where that shadow would be, putting the darker part right where that darker brown is to add a shadow. And by using this green, it'll make a difference between the green and the mountains in the background. So I'm going to do that on all of the mountains. I'm just adding a little bit of that teal on the bottom, making sure I use that swirlies to make it look like the grass. And you can see that without blending it, it looks a little funky. So it looks just a little not blended, not really realistic, and it doesn't very much look like anything. It just looks like lines. So then when you go back in with the regular green, you can see that the blending it out makes it a lot more smooth and makes it more appealing, and you can understand what's going on. So you can see I'm using that lighter green again and going over that and blending the colors together to make it smoother. And you can see that range of values from the darkest on the bottom and the lightest at the top, just from blending the 2 colors. So sometimes you don't need a tint and a shade. Sometimes just a shade will do, and sometimes you do need both. But you can see here I just used the regular green and then the shade of the green, and I was able to get a full blended range here of the values without having to do too many colors. In the grass in the background, I did use a tint and a shade, but sometimes you, like this grass, you just need the 2 colors and you can get away with it pretty nicely. So you just got to make sure you're blending it all in and making it look good. And I don't want you guys to focus on any items that would be here, like tunnels, tubes, ladders, or coins, or prizes, or anything like that. We will be focusing on that in the next class. So I really just want you guys to focus on getting your platforms and your background where your setting is. So you can see mine was in the mountains with some water and some grass, but you guys can choose to do yours in an icy place, like in a lava setting, in the space. You can choose whatever makes most sense for your character, whatever you find interesting. And so we're all done, and that's about it. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoy the project.